The story of how cats came to live with us is not at all what most people think. It's not a story of capture and taming, like with so many other domesticated animals. With dogs, for instance, humans actively chose wolf puppies, bred them for specific traits like obedience, hunting skill, or herding ability. It was a deliberate, human-led process over thousands of years. Cats are a completely different saga. They essentially domesticated themselves. To understand how, we have to go back about 10 to 12,000 years to the Fertile Crescent in the Near East. This is the period of the Neolithic Revolution, arguably the most significant change in human history. Humans were shifting from nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyles to settled agricultural communities. We started planting crops like wheat and barley, and for the first time, we had food surpluses. This led to the creation of the first villages and eventually cities. These early agricultural settlements had a brand new feature: granaries, buildings designed to store huge quantities of harvested grain. For a small, hungry rodent like a mouse or a rat, a granary was paradise. It was an all-you-can-eat buffet, completely protected from the elements, open 24/7. The rodent population around human settlements exploded. This created a huge problem for early farmers. These pests could wipe out a significant portion of a village's food supply, which was a life-or-death issue. They also carried disease. So the stage was set. Humans had inadvertently created a brand new ecological niche. And into this niche walked the perfect predator: the African wildcat, or Felis sylvestris libica. This is the ancestor of all modern domestic cats. Now, there were other wildcats in the world, like the European wildcat, but the libica subspecies had a few key personality traits that made it uniquely suited for the job. They were still wild, solitary, territorial hunters, but compared to their European cousins, they were slightly less fearful of humans and a bit more adaptable in their behavior. They were curious. Some of these bolder wildcats saw the incredible concentration of rodents around human villages and thought it was too good an opportunity to pass up. Timid cats stayed in the forests and deserts, but the ones with a slightly higher tolerance for new things crept into the outskirts of human settlements. At first, humans and cats probably kept a respectful distance. The cats were there for the mice, not for the people. And the people, in turn, quickly realized that these small predators were incredibly useful. A cat hanging around the granary meant fewer rats and mice eating the grain. It was a perfect form of pest control that required absolutely zero effort on the part of the humans. They didn't have to feed the cats or train them. The cats were just there, performing a valuable service simply by following their natural instincts. This wasn't an alliance, not yet. It was more like a mutually beneficial arrangement of tolerance, a commensal relationship, where one species benefits and the other isn't harmed, and in this case was actually helped. This is where the self-domestication process really kicks in. Over many generations, a subtle form of natural selection began to favor certain cats. In this new environment, the friendliest cats won. A wild cat that was extremely aggressive or fearful towards humans would likely be driven off or killed. A cat that was a little more tolerant, a little less flighty, could hunt closer to the granaries, get more food, and be safer from larger predators. These slightly tamer cats were more successful. They ate better, lived longer, and produced more kittens. And because temperament is a heritable trait, their kittens were also likely to be a bit more tolerant of humans. Generation after generation, the cats living alongside people became progressively tamer. It wasn't a conscious choice by anyone. It was simply evolution in action. The cats that could best adapt to the human-made environment were the ones that passed on their genes.
Humans were the selective pressure, but they weren't acting as deliberate breeders. The most powerful archaeological evidence for this early relationship comes from the island of Cyprus, from a gravesite dated to about 9,500 years ago. An entire human skeleton was found deliberately buried with a small cat. The cat was about 8 months old, and its body was oriented in the same direction as the humans, suggesting a meaningful connection. What makes this so significant is that Cyprus has no native wildcat species. This means that the cat must have been brought to the island by boat with people. You don't take a wild, snarling animal on a sea voyage with you. You take an animal you have a bond with. This single burial pushes back the timeline of our close relationship with cats thousands of years and suggests it was about more than just pest control, even in its earliest stages. For thousands of years, this relationship simmered along. Cats spread with agriculture from the Fertile Crescent outwards. But the next great chapter in their story takes place in ancient Egypt. In Egypt, the cat's status was elevated from useful pest controller to a sacred animal, a living incarnation of a goddess. The Egyptians revered cats. They saw in them a dual nature they admired, the loving, protective mother and the fierce, efficient hunter. This duality was embodied in the goddess Bastet. Originally depicted as a lioness, a goddess of war, her image softened over time to that of a domestic cat. She became a goddess of the home, of fertility, protection, and childbirth. To have a cat in your home was to invite the protection and favor of Bastet. This religious significance changed everything. Cats were no longer just tolerated, they were actively welcomed into homes and cared for. They were pampered. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was a capital crime in Egypt. When a family's cat died, the members would shave their eyebrows as a sign of mourning. And these weren't just ordinary deaths. Deceased cats were often mummified with the same care and respect as humans, buried in vast cat cemeteries with tiny mice mummies and bowls of milk for the afterlife. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of thousands of these cat mummies. It was likely in Egypt that the first true selective breeding began. People probably started selecting for cats with specific appearances or even more docile personalities to keep as household companions and living religious icons. This is the second major wave of cat domestication, moving from a loose outdoor partnership to a close indoor companionship. The Egyptians treasured their cats so much they made it illegal to export them, but they were too valuable to be contained. Their reputation as unparalleled vermin hunters was well known. Phoenician trade ships, which plied the routes of the Mediterranean, likely smuggled Egyptian cats aboard to protect their precious cargo of grain from rats. This is how the domestic cat began its conquest of the world. The Romans, who were incredibly practical, saw the utility of cats and became instrumental in their spread throughout Europe. A cat was a standard piece of equipment for every Roman legion, tasked with keeping the camp's food supplies safe from pests. As the Roman Empire expanded, so did the cat's territory. They traveled on Roman ships to Britain and across the continent, establishing themselves wherever they went. What's so remarkable about this entire journey is how little the cat itself has changed. Genetically, a modern house cat is remarkably similar to its ancestor, the African wildcat. Their fundamental behaviors are the same. They are still, at their core, solitary predators. Unlike dogs, which have been bred into hundreds of different shapes and sizes for wildly different tasks, the domestic cat has remained physically and behaviorally consistent. The primary change was in its brain, specifically the genes related to fear and memory. The domesticated cat simply has a reduced fear response to humans and a greater ability to learn from positive social interactions. This is why a domestic cat can revert to a feral, self-sufficient state so easily. Its core programming, its hunter's instinct, has never been bred out. It was never the point. The deal we struck with cats was different from the one we made with any other animal. They came to us on their own terms, offering a service in exchange for a safe hunting ground. That ancient contract, forged in the granaries of the first farmers, evolved over millennia into the complex bond we have today. It's a partnership that has always been a blend of utility and affection, a relationship defined not by ownership or command, but by a quiet, mutual understanding that has persisted for 10,000 years.